for the top of Reish Lamed Bet, he says Reisha the Rachel Derek and Lamala. What do they go on? He says Nimshach. So the kutzitz already goes over until it reaches the head of Rachel. Derek and Lamala, like we said, Maka Ba'arpa, and it strikes the back of her head. V'yotzer and Arba Oros Mochim Shalom B'mitzcha, and then this causes 4 lights to come out from her forehead. Visha Rosh Shalom, and since her head, Shalom He Ma'achra the Zeranpen connected the Lev, and since her head is opposite, I guess the top of her head corresponds to the place of Zeranpen's heart. V'chein Ana Menichan Tefillin Shal Yad Bezroa Smoli, so therefore we put it on the left arm of Zeranpen. The Perik Shlishi in the upper Perik, Shehu Keneged the Lev, which is opposite the heart of Zeranpin. There might have been a little bit more there to remember, but let's go over here to number Tzadivov and read down here. So on that phrase where it says Shehu Keneged the Lev, the Zeranpin, he says Perik Shlishi She'ana Menichem Alav Tefillin Ku Mekava Keneged the Lev, the Zeranpin. V'yesh no tam nois, if there's another reason, if name ma manichem as a tefillin beperik shlishi shall azroah smoli. So smoli. So let's see why we're putting it on the left arm, why we're putting it on the third perik. V'hu mishum shebedas the nook, and the reason why is because the das of the nook, yesh sham chamesh gevuros, there is in her das five gevuros. Now we're talking about her das now. The Eidah of Chamesh Gevuros, and these 5 Gevuros of which we are speaking, let me see, where was that? The Eidah Chamesh Gevuros Mekabelas Anok B'das Shalom Min the Yisod Zeranpin. So the 5 Gevuros come through the Yisod Zeranpin. V'das the Nook, and this is talking about a transfer through the walls, I guess, of the walls of Zeranpin. It's coming through from his Yisod directly into Radas. For Radas, the Nok Omed Lamata Kedeged the Yisod Zeranpin, and that's where it is. It's opposite the Yisod Zeranpin Kedei Lekabel as Chamesh Gevuros. And why? It's because that's the place where the 5 Gevuros are located. Radas the Nok Sarak La'alos L'Makomo. So the Das the Nok has to go from that place, which is her place down below. So he says she has to go up Shehu Makom Yoser Elyon to a place which is higher than the Yisod Zeranpin. So it needs to go to a higher level. Both in Shaliyas Adat Sarichan Lehiyos Ad Keneged the Lev Shel Zeranpin, so she needs to be able to come, that Das needs to come up to the place of the Lev Zeranpin, Kedei La'alos Asadas the Nook, in order to be able to do that, Min the Yisod the Zeranpin, from the Yisod the Zeranpin, the Makom the Lev Dezah, V'chein yesh the kavin la'alos as tefillin the perik hashlishi shel azroa keneged lev. So the kavana is that what you're doing is that you're bringing this das from down below in the level of the Yisod Zeranpin, and you're bringing it up to the level of the heart of Zeranpin, and that's the third perik there. V'likshor sham as a tefillin, and tie the tefillin there. Ki ad yederev b'Rav Kain. So he said, "Kevin she'ad yederev she'anim magvihim as a tefillin ad perik hashlishi." So now we're putting the tefillin up to that third perik. Shalazroa smali of a koshim sham as the tefillin shal yad, and there's where we're putting the tie of the tefillin. What are we doing there? Ana gormim shachamesh gevuros omed omdos lamata b'yisod zeranpin, which is standing down below in the yisod area of zeranpin. Sheyihya olim chachamesh gevuros lamala. So what you're doing is you're pulling those 5 gevuros up. This is the gemana. So or choser, which is the secret of man, or choser going backwards, meaning yisod zeranpin out of the lev zeranpin. So this is an aliyah of man. But makom is roa small in the place of ad halev. So when it says to the heart, and the heart is, I guess, inclined towards the left side. B'makom is roa small the zeranpin. So it's the place of the left arm of zeranpin. Because roa small the zeranpin nikra b'shem gevura. So there, now that's cause of the gevura. So you're tying her on to the place of the gevura. V'chagam chamesh gevuras chalalu heim beso the gevuros. So they're also the gevuros themselves. They come from the secret of gevuros, which is on the left side there, opposite the heart, or the left arm. For the chem yesh lechem kesher b'zroa smola, so therefore you tie them on the left arm as their anpin small nikra gevura. V'oz kashe'alach b'chamesh gevuras b'yisod as their anpin. So now this is the kavana here that you're bringing the sod. Yisod is their anpin, the perik elyon shalazroa smoli is their anpin, and I was calling it the upper perik instead of the third perik. It's okay, same thing. Shuhu keneged the lev shel zer anpin, which corresponds to the place where the heart of zer anpin is located. He says, Oz ye'ira ha'chamesh gevuras b'das the nook, and that's when the ha'ara from that level, the look will go into the das of the nook. So he says, besod or choser, which is a backwards light, but yisod the makom alev, which is that concept is being ma'alaman. V'az yihi ha'gevuros l'malam and the yisod. So then you'll see that the gevuros now are up above the level of the yisod, keneged the lev shel zer anpin. Shekeneged the lev the zer anpin sham kum makum reisha shel nook. This is where you find the top of the head of the nook. So this is a kavana that you could have when you're looking over there. So this is the inyan of the yud b'kesher tefillin shel yad. Now we're going to talk about the yud itself on the tefillin of the hand that have to be touching the box of the tefillin. So it starts out and it says v'zeh sod masha kaseh b'zohar v'pinchas parshas pinchas. The boil is da'ar of the lo ya'adi yud shuhu kesher tefillin shel yad should not move. Minute tefillin atzman for the tefillin itself should tzrichen the zocher should lo yazuz kesher yud the tefillin shel yad. You should not move it. So he said the minabaya shel the tefillin shel yad from the house itself, the housing of the tefillin. El yihi kesher yud mechuber v'tzamud, so this has to be fixed. El habaya shel the tefillin shel yad, it has to be there on the structure of the tefillin of the housing of the tefillin. So what's the reason? He said, who ki hayud hazosh who kasher shel tefillin, who sod hayisod. This is really the secret of the yisod that we're talking about, Kaniska, the ale that we just mentioned, that we have to have this idea. Now, what does he mean? What yisod are we talking about? But kasher hayud the tefillin shel yad, romez al the yisod the zer anpin. Shebezecha yisod the zer anpin yesh kamesh gevuro. So the yud, the yud represents the yisod of zer anpin, which has 5 gevuros in it. Shemin achamesh gevuros now nimsos bedas the zer anpin v'yard the yisod. So therefore, from those 5 gevuros, which are found in the das of zer anpin of a yard to be yisod and go down into his yisod, he says, that is what makes the das of the nook. So the das of the nook is made from that position. So since they're found, in the yisod is their anpin, heim lamata, they're down below. The fichoch, yesh la'alos, in other words, they come from the yisod is down below. So he says, the fichoch, yesh la'alos lamala as a chamesh gevuro. So then what you have to do is you have to elevate them up, these 5 gevuros, kedei lahamnicham lamala b'das the nook, in order to place them in the location of the das of the nook, which is not down below, but it's up above. V'yesh ta'alos as kesher hayud the tefillin shel yad. So the idea is like this, that you're elevating the kesher, this yud of the tefillin, yachad the bias atzmon shel the tefillin shel yad. So of course that's what happens now. You're uniting the two. Shabaya shel the tefillin shel yad yoshev l'mala b'zroa small b'perika elyon. So now it's up in the upper perik on the bicep, let's say so to speak, of the shehu keneged the leg, which is opposite the heart. V'sham b'zroa small. So there on that left arm, keneged the lev shel zer anpin, which is opposite the heart of zer anpin. Yesh l'kshor v'lechaber b'kesher yud im habaya shel tefillin shel yad. Okay, that's what he said. He says it has to be tied there. So what are you getting out of this? So this is that what you're doing, you're tying the kshor l'mala, tying up above as kesher hayud. This is the place where you're putting the yud imabaya shel tefillin shel yad together with the house of the tefillin shel yad. But who kadei shelo yared the kesher shel the yud lamata b'yisod. And why do you tie? Is that what he's talking about? He says, so he going in, Lamala es kasher hayud im abaya shal tefillin shal yad, hu kadei shalo yared the kasher shal yad lamata miyasod. So it shouldn't go back down to where it used to be. Eloku yishar lamala keneged the lev. So it should stay there. So therefore, that's why you put this yud on. I didn't quite hear that, next to the bias. Let's see a little bit more. Val kashir shal yud shal tefillin im abayas aspo. So when you do that, Keneged the lev ne'emach cause of the pasuk. That's when the pasuk says this. It says Semeini kachaisim al libecha, place me like a seal on your heart. Kamavur v'tzlein. We've talked about this before. This particular phrase before. So v'hakavana hisva ayin sham. He says the kavana is this. K'sheyikshach keneged the lev. So when you tie it opposite the heart, as a yud shalat tefillin mimabayis. So that's, he says that's a simple pshat. He says that you should tie it, so he says, make me like a seal, so that I guess it's sealed on the bias, but what I'm missing here is just remembering what the bias represents. It represents, I guess, the nook herself, or I'm not sure. So he says, inyan pasuk zel, who also this inyan, kan pirusha shal pasuk. Shebegedei la'asos as the tefillin shal yad, in order to be able to make the tefillin shal yad she'em at tefillin b'reisha denov, as yesh la'asos shtei pa'ulos, there's two different things that you need to do. He says, the first thing you need to do is la'asos is the tefillin. La'asos is the tefillin, he says, we're stopping there. That's out of time. Okay, so we'll really start that again.